Wisconsin is beautiful in autumn. Red gold leaves crunch under your boots, and the skies glow like smoldering embers by sunset. But there's a stretch of road west of Wapaka that locals don't talk about. A turnoff without a name. A place that doesn't appear on official maps, only whispered about on forums and in dive bars when the lights are low. Some call it the Hollow Fields. Others just shake their heads and mutter, "Stay out of the woods." It started with a phone call. Sheriff Bill Morgan had been in the force for 26 years. Nothing surprised him anymore. He had seen meth labs in barns, feral hog attacks, and a drunk who tried to rob a gas station with a snow globe. But that night, something was different. The dispatcher's voice trembled. "Sheriff, we got a 1055 out by County Road North. Someone crawled into the road. He's missing his ears." Bill grabbed his coat, gun, and a strong cup of coffee, then hit the road. When he arrived, the patrol lights were bouncing off the trees like red-blue ghosts. Two deputies stood frozen, staring at a figure on the gravel. The boy couldn't have been older than 20. Naked, shivering, smeared in blood and dirt. Dried streaks ran from where his ears used to be. But his eyes were clear, too clear, like someone who had seen hell, survived it, and came back to warn the rest of us. He had a tongue, but he didn't speak, not a word. They took him to St. Agnes Hospital. The doctors worked in stunned silence. His wrists were raw, as if he had slipped out of something by force. His ankles fractured. Circular burn marks ran along his spine. They said it looked like he'd been bound to a pipe, vertically, for days. Starved, possibly raped. But worst of all was what they found in his stomach. Pieces of leather, human hair, and teeth. They called him Case Zero because he had no ID, no car, no recent missing person report. When they handed him paper and a pen, he wrote only one word, trembling: Meyerfield. Nobody had heard of it. But the sheriff did some digging. Way back in the 1920s, there had been a township by that name, founded by Polish immigrants, isolated in a small clearing near the edge of Kettle Moraine State Forest, a farming commune, population never more than 50. It vanished from county records in 1953, burned down supposedly, but no photos existed, just a vague outline on a geological survey map from 1947. By the next day, the boy was dead. His blood was septic. The infection had spread everywhere. His spine, lungs, brain. The coroner noted that the tissue around his inner ears had been cauterized after removal. Whoever did this, he muttered to the sheriff, wanted him to live and suffer. A week later, the sheriff drove out to the area listed on the old map. The dirt road was almost impassable, but his truck was built for worse. After an hour of silence, the trees thickened and the sun dimmed unnaturally, even though it was barely 3 in the afternoon. He found an abandoned meat processing shack, or what used to be one. The front sign had faded almost completely, but he could make out the word Meyerfield Smokehouse. Inside was dust, rot, and the lingering stench of something chemical. There were hooks hanging from the rafters, some still stained. A freezer in the back room held only bones, small bones, human. A little girl's dress hung on a rusted nail. He heard something then, not a voice, but a rhythm. Thump, drag, thump, drag. He raised his flashlight and stepped outside just in time to see nothing. But the underbrush was disturbed, as if something big had just passed by on all fours. He didn't speak about what he saw next, not even in his written report. But when he returned to the truck, it was covered in handprints, hundreds of them, all small, child-sized, burned into the dust like brands. Over the next month, things escalated. 3 hikers disappeared along the same forest border. A deer was found gutted and arranged in a spiral on a picnic ground. A park ranger quit after saying he heard voices under the ground. But what broke everything open was the footage. A trail cam deep in the forest picked up something impossible. At first it was just static. Then a tall, hunched figure emerged from the trees. Its body seemed to shimmer, like it was both there and not. The head was bald but too long. The arms, absurdly thin. It carried something over its shoulder, limp and heavy. A person. The camera glitched, the trees distorted, and then it vanished.
They enhanced the footage at the lab. The last frame, right before blackness, showed the figure turning slightly toward the lens. Its face, or lack thereof, smooth and featureless except for a vertical mouth that ran from chin to forehead, full of jagged teeth. The sheriff closed the file that day, labeled it hoax, digital artifact. But he kept a copy, and every now and then he played it in the dark, just to remind himself that the hollow fields was still out there. A month passed, then 2. The official case file sat buried in a locked drawer at the Wapaka Sheriff's Department, marked with an innocuous label, Unsolved 09-231. But Bill Morgan couldn't forget. Not the boy without ears. Not the hands on his truck. Not the thing on the trail cam that didn't blink. The nightmares started next. In them, Bill stood in the woods, alone. Trees loomed like black spires. Something whispered in a language older than English, and he always woke up gasping, tasting iron.
He began drinking again, quietly. He kept a bottle under the seat of his cruiser, just enough to dull the edges. But it didn't help when the new call came in. A hunter had found something in the forest. At first, it looked like a scarecrow, ragged, thin, bound in chicken wire and burlap. But then he saw the eyes, not glass or buttons, real, swollen and sunken. The body was shriveled like jerky, desiccated, but the wounds were fresh, clean, as if the man had been alive during the mummification process. The autopsy revealed something even worse. The internal organs had been removed and replaced with leaves, dried nettles, bark, bone fragments, and one pristine wedding ring nestled inside a hollowed rib cage. The ring was traced back to Laura Madsen, a schoolteacher who'd gone missing 5 years ago. Bill remembered that case. Her car had been found on the side of Route 53, keys still in the ignition, coffee cup half full. But this body wasn't Laura's. It was her husband's. Then came the recordings. A backpacker had wandered too far into the hollow and never returned. But 2 weeks later, his GoPro turned up, discovered by a fisherman downstream lodged under a branch. The sheriff played it alone in his office, the blinds drawn tight. The first 10 minutes were boring. Trees, bugs, a selfie rant about granola bars. Then things shifted. The man, 20-something, cocky, was walking through dense forest when he froze. The camera caught something behind him. Not clearly, but a suggestion. A shimmer, like heat waves in the shape of a man. He laughed nervously, called out, "Yo, you guys messing with me?" But there was no reply. He turned, walked faster. Breathing grew ragged. Then came the clicking, fast, rhythmic, like bone on bone. The forest darkened. He started running. The camera jostled, flipped, and caught a final image. A black silhouette with glowing teeth, kneeling beside him, reaching out, then static. Bill couldn't shake the feeling that everything was connected. The mutilated boy, the scarecrow corpse, the trail cam, and now the footage. He returned to the smokehouse. This time he brought backup. Deputy Langley and forensics agent Rosa Timmons accompanied him. All three were seasoned. All three carried weapons. All three regretted it. The smokehouse seemed abandoned. Same rot, same decay. But the moment they stepped inside, Langley's flashlight shattered in his hand. No one touched it, just exploded. Then the air went wrong. It thickened, not humid but heavy, pressurized like they were underwater. Timmons swore and grabbed her head. "Something's humming," she hissed. "It's in my teeth." The sheriff felt it too. A low vibration, like a tuning fork pressed against bone. In the back room, they found a new door, a trapdoor, freshly added, metal hinges, untouched by rust. Rosa opened it. A stairwell led downward, carved directly into the earth, smooth with care, covered in sigils, spiral patterns, some made from nails hammered into the walls. They descended with weapons drawn. The corridor stretched impossibly long, bending downward in a spiral. Their radios stopped working halfway. Timmons left chalk marks as they walked, but when she checked them, they were gone. After 20 minutes, the air changed again. The smell was unbearable. Rot, copper, bile. They reached a chamber, and then they saw it. A chair made from bone and wire, straps dangling. In front of it, a mirror. Except it wasn't a mirror. It didn't reflect them. It showed something else. A boy, strapped down, eyes wide, and mouth sewn shut. Then it flickered. Now a woman, then a man, then a child again. The mirror showed victims. Langley backed away, retching. Timmons dropped to her knees. The sheriff raised his gun, turned, and saw the walls moving. Faces. Melted, half-formed faces embedded in the dirt, twitching slightly. Some blinked, some wept. One mouthed, "Help me," without sound. Bill fired at the mirror. Glass exploded, and so did the room. The ground convulsed, screams echoed, inhuman, layered like a choir of pain. They ran, back up the stairs. Only they weren't stairs anymore, just dirt. No way out. They clawed upward, hands bleeding. At last, they burst out into daylight, except the sun was setting. Hours had passed, but they'd only been down there 20 minutes. Timmons quit the force the next morning. Langley transferred out of state. Bill stayed, because someone had to. It's 2025 now. Tourists come through sometimes, curious. They don't stay long. The hollow fields look ordinary. Trees, creeks, soft wind. But sometimes, when the fog rolls in low, you can see shadows standing still among the trees, watching, waiting. And if you hear a clicking sound like bone on bone, run. It means the king is near.